Hello, it's George here. I'm 26 and I live in Manchester in the UK. How I Met Your Mother has meant different things to me through the years. I started watching it when I was like 16, 17, and I think then it was just a fun show about adults living in New York. I think now I'm 26, it's a little bit different. I've just restarted watching it in prep for this podcast, and I've clocked that, oh my God, yeah, I'm almost Ted's age, which was first kind of daunting in this world where I'm, trying to adult and stuff. But actually, the more I've thought about it, I think it's actually really exciting that if Ted's journey starts, in the show when he's 27, I guess I've still got a lot ahead of me. Yeah, it's my absolute comfort watch. I love it. I'm a massive podcast nerd as well, so super excited for this. Love you, bye.
I'm alone. What a pity I won't be soon in New York City. When I see you, please permit me to tell you everything in New York City.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of How We Made Your Mother, where Craig Thomas, the co-creator of How I Met Your Mother, and me, Josh Radnor, played Ted Mosby. We're rewatching the whole show, How I Met Your Mother, all 9 seasons, and we're meeting every week, and we're talking about it. And here I am with my bud, Craig Thomas. Hello, Craig.
Hey, Josh. Hello, my friend. It's good to be here with you, buddy. That was an amazing, and it made me feel a little old hearing someone that was 16, and then now they're like, oh, I'm creeping up on 27. It's getting up there. It's, buddy, you're young. You're so young.
Yeah.
But of course,
I think there was a sweetness to him. He's like, I got 9 years of adventure ahead of me.
Totally. I love that was a takeaway to that comment and how he sees the show. We're also here with our producer, Alec Lev.
Hello,
ladies
Alec.
and gentlemen.
Hey, everyone. We are talking about the Slutty Pumpkin today. This was written by Brenda Hsueh, the 6th episode of the first season, originally released on October 24th, 2005. And in response to many people's request that we start off with a nice summary of the show.
There's a party every year. Ted went to it several years earlier, met a woman, the Slutty Pumpkin, and got her number and lost the number. And this is his quest to get back to that same annual Halloween party. And with his heart full of hope and belief and faith, see if he can find her again. And then the B story has to do with exploring Robin Scherbatsky's sort of anti-Ted, on how unlike Ted she is, and how hard it is for her to sort of open up and connect to somebody, which rewatching this episode, I really liked how we got kind of under the hood of like Robin's psyche in this episode and kind of started seeing like, what are her flaws? How is she crazy? This is not a very quick synopsis. See what I mean? I'm just diving right in.
Yeah. So I obviously haven't seen this. I think the Slutty Pumpkin kind of looms large in How I Met Your Mother lore.
Yes.
She comes back later. He actually does meet her, and there's great twists and turns up ahead.
6 years later. Season 7, yeah.
So it was another great contribution to the kind of lore of the show and a symbol of the show. But I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in 20 years. So like, what were the things you remembered fondly that you remained fond of, and what were the things that jumped out at you that surprised you that you hadn't remembered?
It's funny, with something about watching this one last night. My first thought in the opening, a very specific thought was, oh, David Henry is a grown-up now. I follow him on Instagram, and he has 2 children, and he's an adult with his own 2 children. This is the actor who plays Ted's son. For some reason, that opening shot of the couch and those kids broke my heart. It was like, David Henry's an adult with children.
Lindsay has kids too. Lindsay Fonseca has kids
too. A mom to children. And I'm like, these kids are all grown up. For some reason, that hit me very hard this time. That has nothing to do with the specifics of this episode. But once I got over that feeling of, oh my God, we're all time's going too fast. I really liked, one of my takeaways from this that I liked was that Robin in the first couple episodes, she's this ideal, right? She's this impossible, like kind of perfect projection of Ted. He's a projection of what Ted wants to get, right? He wants to be with this woman who he doesn't even know that well, but has idealized her in his brain. Then a few episodes in, we sort of realized Robin can be funny. We gave her that storyline where she's a reporter and she's sort of, Barney's daring her to do dumb stuff on the air. And it was like, oh yeah, Robin's funny too. This is great. Robin can also be funny and flawed, and just that sort of striving side of Robin that we see in that episode, and also in Okay Awesome, where she wants to be important and like known and get in the VIP room. And this one I really liked because we're getting even past that into this feeling of, for her, of why am I this way? Why am I a bit cold? Why am I somebody who doesn't want to be a we? Why do I have to be an I? And I really liked that about this episode. That really struck me, just in terms of the writing and how we're sort of like getting into these characters as these episodes are going in season 1, and saying we can find new speeds. Every couple of episodes, we were finding new things out about these characters, and in this one, it was what's inside of Robin's brain and heart a little bit. But that I liked about this one.
And also it's good not just for the audience, but it's almost like, I mean, Ted wasn't around for much of that storyline. He was like in his own party mode with Barney, but to make her dimensional. I mean, any object of adoration or idealization has to come back down to earth. And I think like when we put people on pedestals, they end up resenting us for doing it, because they know that they are just a flawed human being like every other human being, right? But I did, we talked about this last week in Okay, Awesome, but you guys really, I think, did write this show before attachment theory had become like in vogue. But it is becoming more and more clear to me as I watch this that Ted has an anxious attachment style and Robin has an avoidant attachment style. And the way that you can very simply identify what your attachment style is, when in relationship, when intimacy comes into your life, do you fear engulfment or do you fear abandonment? And if you fear abandonment, you probably have an anxious attachment style. And that means you cling a little too strongly because you're so afraid of being abandoned. And if you fear being engulfed, you do what Robin did in the episode. You want your own ice cream sundae. You want to have these markers of individuation. Like, I am not a we, I am my own person, get away from me. And then the person who is coming at you with their weeness. This person's coming at you. Weeness?
You don't want anybody coming at you with your weeness.
You don't want anyone, because kids, if someone approaches you with their weeness.
If you take one thing away from this podcast, don't let anyone just come at you.
So when they come at you with that stuff, you're gonna push them away. You're gonna say, I need space. I feel like I'm drowning here, right? And when people say like, are you like, or they think I'm like Ted, it's like, no. Sadly, I was more like Robin. Like,
right.
I had a more, before I got married and before I did some work on myself, I had a much more avoidant attachment style. So it's fascinating to watch it being played out so clearly in actually both of these storylines.
It really is. That's what these storylines are. And at the end, they come together. And I love the moment. I love the credit it gives Ted when Robin says, in this way that's half exasperated and half very deeply envious and appreciative, she says to him, "How do you do it, Ted?"
Yeah.
And there's just something about that. That could be the line for the whole goddamn series.
Yeah.
How do you do it, Ted?
Yeah.
How do you go through all of these things, and how do you stay there, and how do you stay with it? How do you stay hopeful?
Yeah.
And there's something a little insane about staying as hopeful as Ted stays.
Yeah.
And yet there's something like so sweet about it too.
I will say, I think the plane is landed in this episode as good as any How I Met Your Mother episode. Yeah. The final scene with them, with the Not a Surf song.
Oh my God, Not a Surf. It's
just killer. It's just so good. Yeah. It's so moving. I remember watching it initially and being like really moved by it. And I thought, this is a really cool show to be on. There was something about Ted's energy. Like, he's the most relaxed around Robin he's ever been. I mean, he's a little drunk.
Yeah. He's a little drunk.
One thing I really liked, and I had kind of forgotten, it wasn't like Ted became this hopeless romantic on day one of the pilot. What this does, his commitment to wearing the hanging Chad costume and trying to see the Slutty Pumpkin again and again and again every year is part of the lore among his friends, that they repeat the story and they know the details. I love
how they told the story and interrupted him. They know every line of the story. I love the shared history there. That was great. That's great in episode 5 or 6, whatever we are here. 6.
I also love the implication. It's not just that they know the story so well. It's that Ted has clearly told this story so many times that they know the words he's going to use to tell it.
There was something really sweet about that. I really like that. And I'm really, Josh, that last scene is kind of everything in this episode. I would say that last scene is one of my favorite last scenes of a HIMYM episode, and certainly a season 1 HIMYM episode, because in part because of how you played it. You played it so great. That feeling for Ted, he knows it's absurd. He says to Robin, I know it's ridiculous to say, I know she's not going to walk through that door. I know the Slutty Pumpkin is not going to walk through that door, but this is as good a place as I need to sit and wait. And the confidence with which Ted says that is really he has real charisma in that moment, and you don't think he's crazy. You think Robin thinks, I want some of that. I want to be a little more like that. And that gives Ted this higher status. And
that's what I was struck by. Like, we defend our worldviews like very strongly, you know, but at the same time, like, if you run cynical and pessimistic, some people will really defend that, you know. But I suspect, and I know this to be the case, when I drop into pessimism or cynicism, I find myself needing to be around optimistic people, being a little bit jealous of a more silver lining detecting crowd, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think she's saying, look, I clearly have a thing that gets activated in me, this fear of engulfment, this fear of collapsing into another person and losing myself. But I don't want to stay this way forever, because I won't be able to have what Marshall and Lily have, which looks really appealing to her, I think.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
We'll be right back. Craig.
Josh.
Your hair, and I mean your hair alone,
Ryan,
is so much more than what you see when you look in the mirror. Do you know that?
This is so nice to hear. You never say anything about my hair.
I've rarely commented on your hair. When I look at your hair, I see stress. I see nutrition. I see hormones, and I see lifestyle. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So many internal factors are affecting what I'm seeing right now in your hair.
I can't believe how much you're looking at and talking about my hair, but please continue.
Well, I don't know much, Craig, but I do know that with Nutrafol's science-backed whole body approach, you can nourish growth from within and achieve your best hair yet.
All over your whole body? No, that's not what that means.
We're just talking about the dome.
The dome. Okay, great. The dome. Then listen to this. Now I get it. Yeah. It's true. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand. Trusted by over 1.5 million people, you will see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. I knew that the whole time.
While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulas to ensure their efficacy.
I'm going to one-up you. There was even a clinical study where 72% of men saw more scalp coverage after taking Nutrafol Men hair growth supplement for 6 months, and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol Women hair growth supplement for 6 months. Those are high numbers. Those are high numbers, Josh.
And that's science. That's just science.
That's just science.
If you believe in science.
Start
your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code. What's the promo code, Craig?
Your mother.
Your mother. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code Your mother. That's Nutrafol.com. Promo code Your mother. And now, back to the show. Marshall and Lily are so Marshall and Lily in this episode. Like, they're so in sync with their costume. And
I think it's the debut of Marshmallow and Lilypad as their nicknames. I think that was the debut, which led to that. I think that was the setup of a joke, because the joke after that is that Robin attempts a name for Mike, and it's Microwave Oven, which I love so much. It's so awkward. She's so bad at this.
Microwave Oven.
But it's funny because I think Marshmallow and Lilypad was probably just like the setup to that joke, but then Marshmallow and Lilypad lasted the whole rest of the series.
I also, there's something about no matter what Halloween costume you put Allison Hannigan in, she looks adorable.
Oh my God.
She wears like outrageous things so well and confidently.
Well. Yeah. It's the confidence with which she wears it.
The bird. I mean, she looks like she's like not wearing a silly costume. Like, she just looks like, this is just what I wanted to wear today. So that was great. And I just found, okay, so this is another little thing that delighted me. And this actually was an improv. I remember this.
Oh, okay.
I made the decision the a cappella group is on the roof. They're about to sing.
Yeah.
And I made the decision that Ted loves a cappella.
Yes, I really found myself noticing that.
And not only that, he's a particularly big fan of this group of guys.
Yeah, he's dancing to the a cappella.
Yeah. But I remember in the not the table read, but in the run through, when they announced them, I remember going, yeah, yeah, like he's at like a heavy metal show or something, like just like a hardcore a cappella fan. And I thought it was really revealing of Ted as a product of like a liberal arts college where he was like
there
front row.
There were 10 competing a cappella groups. Ted may have briefly been in one. Yeah, Wesleyan really was like that, by the way.
Or he didn't get into one and it always burned him. You know,
always a bridesmaid.
But that was a thing. It's so subtle. Like he's just behind Barney, kind of like going crazy.
I love that you made that choice. That's so funny to me that you consciously made that choice.
Yeah.
I was delighted. I forgot that. Obviously, this episode is very much a shout out to It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Am I saying the title of that right? I'm sorry. It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And I had forgotten that the a cappella group sings the Linus and Lucy like theme, the theme from Peanuts. Underneath one whole scene, you hear, I'm not going to sing it. We have to pay money right now. But that they perform that song, and it's kind of great. It's kind of a great a cappella version of the Charlie Brown music, Peanuts music. And I had forgotten that completely until watching it again last night.
Alec, you want to?
No, we could also just talk a little bit about what Barney is doing in this episode.
Oh yeah, that's actually what I did want to talk about, which is like Barney has these grand plans for this Victoria's Secret yacht party.
Yeah.
But he won't leave Ted.
He won't leave Ted. He won't. You talk about attachment theory. Barney has attachment issues.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's been diagnosed yet. But he won't leave him, and he continues. I mean, I think this was in some ways also the beginning of like Master of Disguise a little bit. I mean, there was a little bit in Sweet Taste of Liberty.
Yeah.
But he definitely he comes with a suitcase full of tricks and costume changes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and Neil loves that stuff. In real life, Neil loves that stuff. Neil does magic. Neil sort of has like magic props. And I think it might have been Neil's idea where he said, like, when I'm the devil, I should make fire. I should make a spark appear. And you'd say to Neil, like, oh, great, we'll get someone. And Neil would always go, I got a guy. I got a magic guy. Like, okay, so you're gonna bring in the crazy like flame thing? He's like, yeah, I got a guy.
You know what else made me laugh? Like Neil's when he's in the second costume and he tries to pick up the hula girl again.
Yeah.
And just his kind of like, he goes into this like real like square jawed kind of like faux casual thing that really made me laugh.
It's really funny. Yeah. I apologize for my gender. He's like, the cool guys. Can you believe these guys here? And then he fucks it up like 2 seconds later. Yeah. And the angel and devil joke is an all-timer.
The angel and devil joke is fantastic.
It's an all-timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's Animal House, but it's updated.
And the angel just wants weed. The angel has nothing good to say. He just wants to score some weed.
I'm still trying to calculate this. If you don't know the breadth of the whole show, is Barney remotely successful with women through these first 6 episodes, like at all?
It is definitely apparent that he's not having much success in the first. He does in Purple Giraffe. He hooks up with that girl, the woman who's like friend of Carlos. He does successfully hook up with her, but then can't get rid of her, and then is jealous at the end. So he's, even when he wins, he loses a little bit in these first few episodes. Yeah, he's not.
But you also get the feeling he's not blaming himself for striking out. He's saying this party's lame. Like we got to go where I know there's greener pastures elsewhere.
Yeah, always blame the situation, not himself. Yeah, I'm enjoying that about these early episodes where I'm really, this was the concept of Barney. There may have been too many times we might have had runs where he was too successful with women, and then it became sort of like too literal. Like Barney is a parody of a certain kind of guy, and in these first episodes, I'm really feeling that. Yeah. And his neediness for wanting to be Ted's best friend is I find it so endearing in these early episodes. He just, exactly. Like you said, Josh, like he can't even go to the cool party. He can't go because Ted won't be there. He has to be around Ted.
Well, I think for some reason he thinks of Ted as like he feels like when he has him as a wingman, or he can be Ted's wingman.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain friends for whatever reason that give you more courage, like when you're with them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that is. Like it's a strange phenomenon where you're like a little more socially courageous when so-and-so is by your side.
Yeah.
I think he has a little of that. I was also struck by, Robin's relationship with this guy who seems perfectly nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually thought it was incredibly good writing and incredibly cutting writing how he ended things with her.
Yeah. It was brutal.
Like she says, we're breaking up, and he says, no, I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah.
Like if that's how you want it, like you get your wish, right?
Yeah.
And I think when I think back on Return of the Shirt, it's ineffable, or Robin not being able to just fully relax into the coupleness with this guy. There's something, I think dating is so confusing, and I don't think it's gotten any better in the last 20 years. I think it's probably, I have my wife and I have some single friends who are just the greatest. And they've stopped online dating. They've stopped dating. Like they're just like, it's a mess out there. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that How I Met Your Mother is just, it's very brilliant at showing the ups and downs of dating. You get excited and then you're like, it's not quite there. And it's, I just think it's a real honest portrayal of how hard it is out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the glimpse it gives us at Robin. Like, why isn't it working for her? She says that line, like, dudes are such chicks. Like the idea that but she just perceives this neediness she sees it as neediness, right? This person wanting to connect with her, she sees that as sort of needy and weak. And I love that in series television, you have the chance to explore why. When you extend the timeline forward, and maybe we didn't even know at the time, we had a hint of it, we knew some ideas, but as you go, and I don't want to do spoilers, we're trying not to do too much of that episode by episode, but as you go deeper in the series, you see us trying to dig deeper into her psyche and say, why is she like that? And we learn things about her own father and her upbringing in Canada and who she was. I will own one error that we made in this episode. I really like the roof scene, but we made a big error by saying, not an error in the moment, but an error later, kind of, where Robin says, I never played team sports as a kid. I played tennis. I wanted to be fiercely individual, which was a good way in the moment of that episode to show that side of her, ruggedly individual. But then later in series, we said that she was a hockey player and showed stuff about that. She was on the hockey team. So we screwed that one up a little bit. Yeah. But
one other thing, though, I think it's really smart to have made Robin the avoidant one and make Ted the more anxious attacher, because the cliche is the opposite, right?
Yes.
Like the woman is going to want those things, and the man's going to be like, I want my freedom. But I think what you guys were exploring, and I don't think you invented this. I think Carter was, riffing on his own hopes and dreams, and you certainly, said yes to a relationship and a marriage, like on the younger side. So I think that the amount of guys I hear from who say like, I'm just like Ted, like I think that you were satisfying like a market demand for like a more emotionally centered,
underserved community of
community of vulnerable men who weren't just interested in getting laid. I mean, Ted has a healthy libido, but he really wanted to meet someone and connect with someone in the deepest way. So I continue to think that this whole show was a genius kind of gender flip. It's
interesting to see how many times it comes up in these first 6, even, right? Where it really is in the genetics of the show to do that kind of gender flip and suggest that Ted has this open heart. He wants to connect, and that Robin has a really, really hard time. She's terrified of that.
I also think there's something for Robin about, when you have an avoidant attachment style, a lot of times you're afraid. You actually were wounded in an intimate way. Like you were wounded emotionally. Yeah. So you protect yourself. And I think what she sees with Ted is that, this is the guy who is who he says he is.
Yes.
He is who his friends claim that he is. And so much of dating, like I remember when I would date in New York or LA, like a lot of times, you meet people you work with or you're set up, but sometimes you meet like a person in the world, like in line at something, and you're like, I'm going out with a complete stranger. Like, I don't know any of these people's friends. I have no connection to this person. Like they're just a complete, mystery. And I think like you end up like historically people ended up marrying people who lived within a couple miles of them. Right? Yeah. Because the families knew each other and and New York can be so big and so overwhelming. And we talked about chosen family, right? And finding your tribe. And I think Ted is coming into focus for Robin in this episode as someone who is reliable and who can be depended upon, and who in some ways you can roll your eyes and laugh at some of his quirks and eccentricities, but it's ultimately like the best part about him. And it's the very thing that's going to make him a great husband.
And I think part of it is how cool Ted is in that scene. He owns how absurd his night has been. This has been an absurd pursuit. And once a year, I do this absurd ritual. And it's really about the ritual of keeping faith. The Slutty Pumpkin, horrible name, but be damned, as Lily points out. What if she does become the wife? The Slutty Pumpkin is just representative of hope, right? It's the Shawshank Redemption debate. Is hope a good thing?
I mean, it's like Jews lighting the menorah.
Yeah,
you know, like it's a commemoration of something that happened.
It's a ritual.
That to say, like, we're going to keep the faith.
And his faith in Robin at the end is such a gift. At the end of that episode, he says to her, "You just haven't found the right guy yet. You have terrible taste in men because you didn't choose me. But at some point, some guy will come along and he'll be the right guy, and you'll feel all those things that you're saying." I really love how vulnerable Robin is, and Kobe played it great in that scene where she's essentially saying, "Am I broken? Yeah. Is there something wrong with me?"
Yeah.
And that's why Inside of Love was like the perfect song by the Not a Surf song. That's what that song is asking, right?
It's also the beginning, I think, of another aspect of their relationship. Ted is one of Robin's great pep talkers.
Yes.
Like really meets her. He's really there for her when she's like at her lowest.
Yeah. You played that scene so great. I don't want to awkwardly compliment you. Like or maybe you'll enjoy the compliment. You played that scene with such confidence. It wasn't that Ted was absurd or crazy. Ted was in that scene. The twist at the end of that episode is Ted was doing the right thing. Like he's doing something completely crazy. He's wearing a hanging Chad outfit from 4 years ago. And in the end, don't we all want to be a little more like Ted than Robin? And even Robin has to come up to that roof kind of like as if coming to this wiser person on high and saying, can you give me some of this?
There's that great quote about like, reasonable people never change the world, therefore all progress depends on unreasonable people.
Yes.
It's a little like that, right?
Ted is a wise, like the tribal elder at the end of that episode. She comes up to him, climbing up to his wisdom and asks him, where do I get a little bit of that? Where do I get a little bit of the thing that makes you sit here like this?
And he also, much like we were talking about in the bonus episode around Okay Awesome, is like, for some reason, there's something, he didn't get that knocked out of him. Like he didn't, like being, crossing the threshold of 25 or whatever, he still has this feeling like, no, we can, and some of it's delusion, some of it he needs to shed. Yeah. But the central idea of like the faith-keeping aspect of him is part of his heroism.
I think something unique about the show now that I'm hearing, we're sort of reviewing where Ted does something a little crazy, but it's actually the right thing. Ted says, "I love you" on the first date. This, I feel like this is not usually the central character of a show. That the central character kind of holds down the fort of logic a little bit, and whether it's Hawkeye or Sam Malone or Jerry or even Jerry, they're kind of sort of holding things in the middle, and crazy people around them do crazy things. But that you're the I in your title does crazy things, but you keep on ending with no, those are right, those are what we want.
I would say yes. I would say yes to all that, except, and this is why Ted was a much more interesting leading character than a lot of leading characters. The thing you're describing about normal sitcoms, I did that with Barney. I had to do that for 9 years with Barney because Barney's like insane around me. And I'm like, hey, let's be normal. Let's be centered. Let's be sane. Whereas compared to Robin, Ted is the more eccentric one. Yeah. Right? At least in matters of the heart.
Absolutely. And I think that's right. I think it's Ted. Ted is different things to different people. But he is the sort of, he is the anchor of the show, and he does something incredibly illogical and unreasonable in the pilot, and so tells this woman he just met he loves her, and going up to do this sort of Slutty Pumpkin ritual is unreasonable in a way. But when he sort of recognizes it in the end as a ritual, as something I have to do to stay hopeful, there's such a gift he's giving Robin a gift there, and he's giving her some wisdom. And Ted, the whole time, and the way you played this in this episode is so great, the whole through line of that episode is confidence from Ted. There's never a moment where he's not that way. And Barney trying to like get him to go to the Victoria's Secret thing and trying to take him off his track. Every single time you had this energy of like, no, I'm staying. There was never a moment of doubt. It was badass in a way.
There's a relaxed feeling of like he's wearing this like very dated costume. I mean, it was 4 years ago. Like she says, no one remembers what a hanging Chad was, you know? I really am into this idea that it's a religious ritual for him.
That's what this episode is.
You know how there's like,
as we're talking about it now, that's what
there's something like in religions, like they'll do something weird and you almost don't know how it got started. And you're like, well, no, because on the day, that's what they did that. And it's like he was wearing a hanging Chad costume when he saw this woman, and therefore every day we shall wear this costume every year on this rooftop. Once a year.
Yeah, it's like sacrificing a goat adjacent, but it's like the nice version.
The other thing that really made me laugh while we were shooting it and continues to make me laugh, the bit about Lily giving out the Kit Kat with the phone number on it.
It's
and
so
then
good.
him running into the hall and destroying
a kid's
candy basket.
The way you screamed at that kid was so good. It was so fucking crazy. It was like from a different movie. It was like it was so
I remember
great.
the crew really liked that one.
Yeah,
you know?
It was really, really, really funny. How insane!
And
it
also,
is. But
like,
that's the only moment like that in the whole episode.
And also, like how Lily giving the number away. It's like we're not trying to be villains. Like it's just an honest mistake.
It's just an honest mistake. And I think part of Ted's obsession is how fucking great of a story it would make. Right? If 4 years later or however many years later, that is his wife. And what a story to tell. It all started with this Kit Kat bar with a phone number. And he wants to will that into being so hard. But of course he knows that's probably not going to happen. But he just does it anyway because it matters to believe. It matters
But we're not
believe.
done. We're not done with the Slutty Pumpkin story. So keep watching watching the show with us. We'll hopefully meet her one day.
You never know.
And this old man, he must admit he fell in love with you in New York City.
And now, commercials. Hey, Josh.
Yeah, Craig, hey.
I had this observation. I don't know if it's controversial or not, but I'm going to share. I'm going to go out on a limb and share it.
All right, hit me.
I've built up my courage to put this out there. Please don't shoot it down right away. Just think about it at least.
All right.
Spring smells good.
I agree with you.
That's what I'm putting out there. The springtime smells good.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. I can get behind that. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Okay, but what if you have a kitty litter that smells bad and it interferes with you enjoying the spring smelling good? What do we do then?
Well, you got yourself a real dilemma because you want to have the windows open, you want to have fresh air, you want to be smelling those spring smells.
Yeah.
But then that kitty litter odor is getting in the way. Am I following you right?
You're following me and you walked right into my trap. There's a fix for that, Josh.
Oh my God.
Ha, I've got you right where I want you now. Pretty litter. I'm going to say it again. Pretty litter obliterates odors so you can enjoy all the wonderful scents of spring. Boom.
Oh,
you see where I was going with this?
Yes.
I'm like a puppet master. I'm just making you walk, right? Yeah.
Now, I have to say a phrase that I've never said before. These are words I have never said in this order before. Are you ready?
You may have said them separately.
Pretty Litter's non-clumping formula traps odor and moisture. I'm going to say that again. Pretty Litter's non-clumping formula traps odor and moisture. It's ultra absorbent. It's lightweight, low dust, and 1 6-pound bag works for up to a month.
And Pretty Litter gives you peace of mind.
Does it?
It changes color. This is actually pretty cool.
Oh.
It changes color to indicate early signs of potential illnesses in my cat, like urinary tract infection. Here's the potential illnesses. It will tell you urinary tract infections, kidney issues, and more. That actually kind of blows my mind. That legitimately blows my mind.
It changes color. It's like a mood ring for the health of your cat in your kitty litter.
But it's urine-based. It's a urine-based.
It's unbelievable.
It's science. It is science.
Since Pretty Litter, which I'm noticing there's like a slight alliteration in the name.
It's fantastic.
Pretty Litter. Since Pretty Litter ships free right to your door, you'll never run out, and you won't have huge kitty litter bags taking up space. That's good.
Pretty Litter helps keep your house smelling fresh and clean. Try and you'll love it. Go to prettylitter.com/ this is our show, HWMYM, How We Made Your Mother, to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. A free cat toy, Josh.
All right.
The cat toy is also non-clumping. That's prettylitter.com/ HWMYM to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. Prettylitter.com/ HWMYM. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Non-clumping. End of commercials. Back to show.
Let me ask you, so now in terms of production, you're shooting the 6th episode. Do you remember now the feeling of, we're 6 and we're making this is happening.
Yeah.
We haven't been canceled yet.
Yeah.
Do both of you remember kind of where you are in your emotional career when this is happening?
I mean, I remember, just to go back to Nada Surf for a second, I remember the feeling that, so there was a really cool indie rock radio station in LA. It's 103.1. I'm forgetting the name of it. Someone send in what the name of that was, because it went off the air while I still live in LA. But I got a bunch of great How I Met Your Mother songs from that radio station, including Inside of Love by Nada Surf, which I heard for the first time on that station. This is how long ago it was. We drove around in cars listening to terrestrial radio stations. And I remember finding that song and coming to our music supervisor, Andy Gowan, who also had amazing suggestions himself. This one was just because I fell in love with the song on the radio. And saying to him, can we get this song and put it under the whole ending of this episode? And he was like, yes, we can. And I remember that we got it. The song aired. And I remember, like, this is all a long way I mentioned your question, Alex, which is to say, I remember the giddiness I felt watching that one air and going, that's because I heard this cool song on the radio. And I said, let's put it on a TV episode. And now it's airing. And I was just like I just remember that giddy kind of Christmas morning feeling about that one. So we were still in those new days where those superpowers or those moments were still like, all of a sudden you could fly. All of a sudden, there was just this.
And
new
if you
superpower.
couldn't do it, there were 12 people that could get it done for you. I mean,
absolutely.
I remember feeling, I think I was still quite nervous. I think I was still, it really took me a while to relax into the fact that this was a job that was going to be a long-term job, and remember, we were not out of the gate like a ratings juggernaut. Like we were in the demo. We were very good for CBS for a young audience, but our total numbers it took a while.
It did. Yeah. We stayed around on the success of like 18 to 34, 18 to 49. Like we were the youngest skewing show often on CBS on a given week or month or year. And that's what happens. We were no huge hit. That's true. It was not right out of the gate. And I was worried. I remember always being worried. Are these numbers good enough? But
what the arc we had, which is, I think what happened was, and I think we might have talked about this, but because the ratings weren't insane and because they weren't too bad, they basically left you guys alone to create your weird little show where you could use Belle and Sebastian and Nada Surf and, kind of create your own universe. And I think if we had been too successful, I think they would have been around too much.
I think that's right.
And I think if we weren't successful, we wouldn't be talking right now. So I think there was a build that allowed us to get our voice and grow our audience. I have some friends who, I have a friend who's very successful in another area of showbiz, but he was like, coming up is the best. He's like, being on top is not fun. He uses, I actually put this in a song lyric, but he said, when you get to the top of Everest, the air is so thin that your body actually starts to die. That's why they have to get you up and down so quickly from the top of the mountain. Yeah. And he's like, that's what the top of showbiz is like. Like the air is so thin, your body starts dying. So you got to go up and you got to, collect your award and you got to come back down to real life.
I think that's right. I think in the end, it was a real gift. I mean, in the moment, it was terrifying. It was, are these numbers good enough? We're going to be canceled. And never did we get so big that we took anything for granted, right? We never got lazy. Carter and I we never wanted to go do other pilots and other shows. We were sort of contractually obligated to go do a few others. And we did at times try to do other things a little bit, but we knew this was special. We knew this was 1 in a million and this was our baby and we didn't ever want to leave it. But I remember there's so much fear in that. What if this doesn't work out? What if we don't find the audience? But looking back on it, I can see it the way you're saying it, Josh. It's like the lack of that huge spotlight on us kept us kind of this indie rock band, a la Nada Surf and Belle and Sebastian. And we got to sort of be this strange flavor and fly a little bit under the radar. And in the end, that was just right for us.
And then when in 9th season, when we went to Comic-Con in San Diego, and we were like the arena act, like we had gotten to the point where we were the most kind of talked about, tweeted about show at Comic-Con that year, I remember.
Yes. Yes.
And
somewhere in the late middle, we became very popular. but we didn't.
But these
really
were like
act
the
any
early
different.
lean years where we were like kind of like loading our own gear into the van, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
It was only like Netflix and streaming that really made the show bigger. And because of the way we made the show without a live studio audience, I mean, I don't think any of us ever felt any difference from when we became a hit. And I almost didn't know that we were. I knew like on paper and people would tell me and I'd hear more things, but basically we're just making the show that we'd always been making. We never changed anything really. How we approached it.
I think that there was this assumption that we at some point like started walking around like TV stars, and I don't feel like we ever did.
It never like, felt that way. I never felt safe. I never felt like we were like safe. I always felt like even when we were patently, provably safe, I never felt it. Maybe I just didn't let myself feel that way because like I would start not working as hard on it or not caring as much or something. I think I was afraid of feeling safe. God, talk about, now we're getting deep. But I you know, I think we always kept this healthy sense of like, we got to prove it. We got to sing for our supper. We got to keep earning this and keep making this interesting. And I think that was good in the end, even though psychologically maybe not healthy.
I have a question for you, Craig.
Yeah, please.
I still thought it played, but I was just wondering how you feel about Gay Pirate.
Yeah, and there's been a couple moments like that so far in these first few where there's a joke that's kind of like, would we do that now? Should we have been smarter and wiser and maybe not been cavalier with throwing things around like that could be perceived as insensitive, or maybe they were insensitive. I mean, in the end, I found myself wondering about it. I don't know that I would do it again exactly in that way.
There's a more generous reading of it, which is, it wasn't my intention to be a gay pirate. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to be a pirate, but something about the way I did this and the eyeliner is
coming across
as a gay pirate. Not there's anything wrong with that, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely there's not supposed to be anything wrong with that, but of course we're making some point of it, like, oh, what if people think of him in that way?
But like Marshall doesn't want to be thought of as a gay pirate, right? Like, he's with his wife, who's the little bird,
right? But in the end, he seems to embrace it and go like, all right, but we won, and like whatever. But the idea
it's a throwaway. It's a
throwaway, but it struck me as a little weird, if I'm being honest. It struck me as like, why would that be bad? Why should that be a problem? You know what I mean? Like, it's because it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we were being a little comedy writer-ish there rather than human beings on that one.
I think the way Jason played it was he wasn't offended that you called him gay. He was offended that you didn't understand his costume.
Right. It wasn't his intention of his costume. And he also says earlier that he feels like he's kind of weirdly hot with the eyeliner. So he's kind of also embracing that there's like a hotness.
He was just doing Johnny Depp, right? Like, it was just
he's basically doing Johnny Depp, yeah.
Yeah. I did think the little the visual gag of her on the shoulder.
Oh my God,
is fantastic.
That's that little like Trump Loy like joke, and I know exactly who pitched that joke, and I remember being so jealous of it, and only they would have pitched this joke. Chris Miller and Phil Lord, yes, Lord and Miller, the Oscar-winning filmmakers of Spider-Man movies, Spider-Verse movies, Lego movies. So a joke like that is this. It's an animated joke, right? It's basically
a visual
animated
joke.
It's a visual animated joke. And I remember them pitching that. I feel like maybe that one was Phil. I hope I'm not misattributing it. But I just remember thinking, like, that's an animation brain. That's, it hadn't even directed a movie yet. Chris and Phil were on the show in season 1 as writers, and they got hired to write and direct Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs during that time, and left a couple episodes before the end of season 1. And I remember just thinking, like, only they would think of that exact joke. That's so their brain, so their eye. Yeah. And I still remember, I don't sit here claiming to remember who pitched every joke and How I Met Your Mother in every episode. It's really hard. I forget ones that I pitch, but I remember that being them. I remember thinking only those guys. And sure enough, less than a few months later, they were helming an animated feature, which the funny part of that too, is they left maybe episode 19 or 20 out of 22, that season 1. And when Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs premiered, their premiere party happened at the same time as our 100th episode party. And they said, we left How I Met Your Mother, and you've done 100 episodes, and we finished this one movie. That's how long an animated movie takes to produce. But it all worked out very well for them.
I have a memory. I think I went to the premiere of Cloudy, but I remember that they were navigating like studio kind of hallways and notes for a long time. And didn't Rob come in and kind of work with them a little bit?
Yeah. One of our other writer producers, Rob.
And I remember feeling like, oh, this might not be good. Like this could be like one of those like kind of studio through no fault of theirs. It could be.
Right.
And I went to the premiere and I was delighted by it. Like I thought he was so funny and smart and had all their kind of hallmarks. So their fingerprints were all over it in the best way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sharp,
and
so funny. Yeah.
The fact that we have their fingerprints on a bunch of season 1 is a blessing to this show. They wrote the great Thanksgiving episode of season 1, Belly Full of Turkey, that also has a bunch of great, like, crazy visuals in it that only they could think of. And I think I'm so honored to have had those guys who are good friends of all of ours. And
I mean, they're baked into the DNA of the show.
Are. Yeah. They helped define things in the show. They really turned Barney into a comic book cartoon kind of animated character in episode in Sweet Taste of Liberty that they wrote. And those guys are the best. And that parrot on the shoulder, Trump Lloyd joke, Phil Lord, I'm almost positive. If not Phil, then Chris.
So Alec just told us that since we've started this, or since we announced it, we've been soliciting these stories about How I Met Your Mother, what it means to you, how you discovered the show, how it's affected your life. And we have gotten audio testimonials, we've gotten written testimonials. Tell us, Alec, you just told us a number of how many people have written in or sent something in. How many stories have we gotten so far?
Yeah, so through the website, howwematyourmother.com/contact, you could type in a story, which is the best place to give us your longer form stories. We love the comments on Instagram and on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts, everywhere, on Spotify. But from the website, we have just received our 1,176th story.
Wow. And so that's cool. Not including like Instagram or comments. Like that's from the website contact.
Oh, absolutely. That's we hunt thousands and thousands from everywhere else. Wow. But that's just through that contact page.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Can I also say, like, if you're loving this podcast and certain friends and family members who love How I Met Your Mother are not listening, can we ask our listeners to give them a little nudge and send them the link and say, I'm really enjoying this? We would love to get our army of How We Made Your Mother supporters and lovers out there, turning people on to what we're doing here, because we're having such a good time. And we love whoever's listening to this right now, but we would also love more people to tune in if they love the show. We also have a lovely letter that we're going to read, right, Alec?
Yes, indeed. Go for it.
And I'll take the lead on this one today. I have not read this, so I'm going to be surprised as we go. Dear Josh and Craig. Oh my God. No, I'm kidding. That didn't surprise me. Dear Josh and Craig, my name is Matteo. I'm an almost 30-year-old Italian guy who grew up with your show, and this podcast is truly an incredible gift for me. Last year, I had the chance to chat with Josh after the beautiful play The Ally at the Public Theater in New York. Oh, that's so nice. Glad he saw it. I was almost embarrassed because it didn't feel right to talk about How I Met Your Mother after he had just performed in another production. But for me, it was my only chance to tell him what the show has meant to me and how important it still is in my life. I started watching HIMYM when I was a teenager. While the 5th season was airing in the US, I was discovering the pilot episode. And from that moment on, I never let go of it. In fact, it became a part of me. As I grew up, HIMYM was always there, my happy place to retreat to when things were going wrong. In 2014, the very year of the final season, I completed my studies and found myself facing bigger enemies, anxiety and depression. During those difficult times, HIMYM was there for me. The show became, in a way, an anchor that accompanied me through the darkest periods. So I started writing a book. I set the project aside because I wasn't satisfied with what I had written. Over the following years, I realized that the real change had to come from within, facing my depression with the help of a psychologist, not with DIY remedies. I don't want to go into the details of my life or therapy, but a few years ago, when I found the draft of the novel, I decided to pick it up again. This letter is simply to thank you for being a part of my life for so many years and for inspiring my book, which in 2023 was selected by a publisher and officially released in bookstores all over Italy. It's called Il sapore della vita, the flavor of life. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. And while it's written by me, there's so much of you in it.
Oh man, that's so nice.
Thank you for creating something that went beyond a simple dramedy. How I Met Your Mother has been and continues to be a piece of my life. With affection, Matteo Camarada.
That's the best.
Wow.
Thanks, Matteo.
Matteo, thank you for that. Thank you.
That's really beautiful. It's the letters like that have been so amazing. What an honor that the show meant that to people. Please keep them coming. Mateo, thank you so much. Congrats on the novel.
Yeah, congrats.
People check out Mateo's novel. That's really
The Flavor
cool.
of Life.
Glad the show helped you in that way.
And I also think, like I said, Craig, earlier, like you and Carter wrote characters who were vulnerable. And I think, there's this idea that we're supposed to show our toughest self and our best self. But true connection is formed when we reveal our wounds and our vulnerability. That's where we really connect. So I think what he's saying in this letter is that we helped him get in touch with those tender spots, those where his nerve endings were exposed, and he really needed some help. And he, it's just such like, you don't realize what you're doing for people just by telling a story that is going to help them reflect and metabolize their lives and their struggles. So this is a perfect example of to inspire someone to be there, to accompany them through dark moments of their life and also inspire them creatively. I can't imagine a better thing to have a work of art be able to do.
Yeah, it's why you do it. It's the hope and the dream. Like talking about this episode where Ted has this faith, right, and this dream. He's up there on the top of that roof waiting for the Slutty Pumpkin, and has this almost unreasonable level of faith that it will all mean something one day. And that's the same faith you have when you write something, you make art, you put it out into the world. And the idea that the show has gone out there and connected with people like Mateo in that way, it's so humbling. And you dream of that when you start a project, and when it happens, it's a dream come true. So thank you, Mateo. Thank you, everybody, for sharing these stories. It means the world to us.
Thanks, Mateo. That was really beautiful. Thank you.
I am guilty. Please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show is produced by me, Alec Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's Muse letters on Substack. Read Craig Thomas's published prose at craigthomaswriter.com. And you can subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures, marketing provided by Tink Media. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you, or just New York City?